Kishimoto will go down as one of the most influential mangaka of our time. And no matter how you feel about Kishimoto's work, it's very hard to deny the overwhelming influence it has on this new gen of anime. Shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and Black Clover all stem from the Kishimoto narrative tree. And I think Kishimoto's biggest criticisms is how he handled Naruto Shippuden, more specifically post-Pain Arc Shippuden. But I'd like to go back to a time when things weren't so murky. I'd like to go back to a time when Naruto was set up to truly be one of the great animes. But in order to do that, we must go to pre-time skip Naruto and look at an episode from the Sasuke retrieval mission that I genuinely think is one of the best episodes in the entire series. This episode is called Goodbye Old Friend, I'll Always Believe in You, which is the 114th episode of Naruto, and an episode I think about quite often when I think about this series. Like I said earlier, this episode takes place during the Sasuke retrieval mission, one of the best arcs in the entire show. And episode 114 places you right in the middle of this arc, near its apex, where Choji is fighting one of the Sound Ninja Jirobo. But to give context to this fight, Jirobo being one of the Sound Ninja means he's one of the strongest fighters we've seen in the entire show so far. So for somebody like Choji, somebody who couldn't even make it out of the prelims, fighting somebody like Jirobo really means the odds are stacked against him this time. And this fight really isn't going well for Choji, as he had some admirable feats during it. For the most part, Jirobo has been absolutely dominating Choji to this point. And even with the help of the green and yellow pills that Shikamaru gave him, he's no match for the overwhelming might of Jirobo. Jirobo taunts Choji and he begins to call him names like fat, loser, worthless, a pawn, somebody to sacrifice, somebody who's disposable, and all the mean words under the sun. And you really can't help but to feel bad for Choji, as up until this point of the show, everything Jirobo has been saying about him has been absolutely true. Like I said, Choji couldn't even make it out of the preliminary exams, and up until this point in the show, Kishimoto has only used Choji as a narrative tool to add comic relief to situations, as he's just the fat boy who loves eating chips. We're not supposed to take Choji seriously, as Choji is not a serious character. But then the flashback happens. There's not much known about Choji to this point, but the show plays a flashback of Choji as a childhood playing ninja with his shinobi friends. But you quickly realize that none of his other peers really appreciated Choji, as they thought of him in the same way Jirobo did: fat, slow, useless, and just a waste of space. This caused Choji to be really reserved and very self-conscious about his being, as everyone around him is reaffirming his negative thoughts that he's useless and not enough. So Choji goes about his childhood being this reserved child and not really interacting with anyone until Shikamaru comes around. And while Shikamaru didn't do anything that changed the minds of people who thought negatively of Choji, he offered a helping hand to him, as he just did these simple things like laying down and watching the clouds with him and sharing snacks with Choji as well. And this small action is everything that Choji ever wanted, as he spent his entire childhood truly a lonely soul. And then the episode goes to the present day, where Jobo is quite literally beating the life out of Choji, and Choji is on his last breaths. Jirobo taunts and berates Choji even more, as he lays there nearly lifeless and can't even do anything when Jirobo eats his last potato chip. But this is when he remembers. But this is when Choji finally realizes how far he's came in this life. He realized that despite his very sad upbringing, the relationship between him and Shikamaru back then blossomed into a beautiful friendship, as they now regard each other as their only best friends. But not only that, Shikamaru gave Choji the opportunity to be a part of a group where all of you need to rely on each other and all count on each other in order to succeed. And this is something Choji quite isn't used to, as no one really depended on Choji at this point. So Choji now realizes that Shikamaru, along with the whole squadron of ninja consisting of Kiba, Neji, and even Naruto, are waiting for him to succeed and catch up and finally succeed the mission. And this fills Choji with a sense of purpose, and alternatively a reason to keep fighting. So he looks down at that red pill and he takes it, knowing that he's going to die right after, because he knows he has to fight. He knows he has to beat Jirobo, because he has 3 other people depending on him too, and that's something that Choji always wanted in his entire life. So to him, it doesn't matter if he ends up dying right after. It doesn't matter if he'll never see Shikamaru again. He realizes that he's not just some sort of pawn to be sacrificed to the Sound Ninja, rather a valid ninja that people count on and want him to succeed. And as you see Choji take that red pill, you see him transform into a new Choji. He's left his cocoon of sadness, insecurity, and self-doubt, and has blossomed into a butterfly full of hope, self-motivation, and purpose. And as you see Choji beat Jirobo to a pulp, you can't help but to be happy for him, as this is something that Choji always wanted in his life, and to be felt loved by people. And as Choji's about to land the finishing punch, he loads all the chakra up in his left hand and says that this blow is heavier than his entire life. And then he kills Jirobo. And as Choji and Jirobo lay in that crater, both of them become essentially dead men. But one sad and angry, full of hate, but one happy and full of purpose and feels that he's completed his life mission. And you realize that the end is near for Choji, and although it is sad he's going to pass away, you realize that Choji wouldn't want it any other way. And as Choji is in his last moments, he's being guided by these chakra butterflies, a symbol of hope, and stumbles across the tree where Kiba, Naruto, and his best friend Shikamaru all wrote messages telling him to keep moving forward. And as Choji is crying from these messages, near fading to black, it shows a clip from his childhood to a conversation that he had with his father. Choji's dad says, "One day you'll find friends who believe in you, friends who will trust you with their entire life. Cherish those friends, Choji. Cherish them." And cherish them he did, as the episode ends and he's looking at the one thing he ever wanted in his life. He sits there, about to pass into the afterlife, and can only muster out one sentence before he goes. "Dad, you were right. I made some truly great friends." Thank you, Kishimoto, for a truly perfect episode.